This is our first video on surface area, and on this one we're going to talk about the surface area of prisms. We want to apply the formula for both lateral and total surface area. Here's a word bank that talks about the different parts of a prism. We have a base, and in this first rectangular prism, the base could actually be any of those sides because the definition is there are two parallel congruent faces. So a lot of times we might call the bottom part the base. So if this would be one base, this would be the other base. Okay? And then we have a height, which isn't there, but let me go ahead and put this here. The height is not part of the base. So here, this would be the height. Let me go ahead and show you a different picture. You could call this the base. Okay, if that was the base, these would be the two bases. And then in this case, this would be the height, because the height is not part of the base. Now when we look at B over here, which is a triangular prism, the base, you don't have a choice. The bases are the triangles, and so this is one base and this would be the other base, and so then the height would be right here. Okay, so then just to fill in, the base edge are the edges of the base. So in this picture here are base edges. The lateral face, okay, the lateral is not the base. So it's always rectangles. So in the triangular prism, it's all the three rectangular sides. And then again in this one, let's go ahead and let's call this the base. And so the lateral faces would be the other four faces of the prism. The vertexes are right here, all the corners. Okay, so let's go a little further and fill in the surface area. Is the area of all the faces of a three-dimensional solid. It includes all the faces. The lateral area is the area, the lateral of the sum of the area of the lateral faces. And then the total area is the sum of the area of the lateral faces and the bases. Now, if they just say surface area, they are referring to the total area. If they want the lateral, they will use the term lateral. Okay, so the formula for the lateral surface area is pH, where P stands for the perimeter of the base. So that's why in the rectangular prism, it's very important to identify what you're calling the base, because it's the perimeter of the base, and then H stands for the height. And again, the height is not part of the base. The formula for total surface area is pH plus 2 times a capital B. So a capital B is very important. A capital B stands for area of the base. So it's important that you use a capital B because it means area. Okay, so here we're going to have some examples. So they've highlighted here what they want you to call the base. So if this is the base down here, we need the perimeter of that base. So it's going to be 16 plus 12. So, 28. And then the height is not part of the base, so that's going to make this the height. So lateral is perimeter times height, and 28 times 2 is 56. And then a capital B is area of the base, so 8 times 6 is 48. And so our total area, pH plus 2B, is 56 plus 2 times 48. And that is 152, and these would be centimeters squared. anytime you're talking about surface area, it's going to be in squared units, okay? So I'm going to move this up, but please pause the video and do the quick check yourself. Okay, now you should name these. I failed to on the first one, but this is a rectangular prism because the base is a rectangle, and the perimeter of the base is 32, and then the area of the base is 63. So our formula, perimeter times height, 4 is the height, so it is 32 times 4, or 128, and then the total surface area is 128 plus 2 times the area of the base, and the answer is 254 centimeters squared. Okay, here we have a cube, and so we can use the same formula here. However, since all the sides are the same, there may be a shortcut, but let's go ahead and just continue with our formulas we've been using. So this is a cube, so the perimeter of the base is, they're calling this the base, but they're all the same. So 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 8 is 64. So this is 32 times the height, which is also 8. And 32 times 8 is 256. And then this is 256 plus 2 times the area of the base. So it's 384. Now, if anybody had thought of a shortcut here, these are squared inches. Since all the sides are the same, so the area of each of the sides is going to be the same. So a shortcut would have been just to do 6 times 8 times 8, which is 64. And 64 times 6 is 384. Okay, and if you wanted the lateral, well, there's 4 sides for the lateral. So that's a shortcut if you happen to have a cube. So let's just look at this one here, and maybe just, we could, again, if you just wanted to use the shortcut, it could be, you've got 6 sides, and the area of each side is 5 times 5. So 6 times 25 would be 150 inches squared. And the surface area, the lateral, is just the 4 sides, so you could have done 4 times 25. It would be 100 inches squared. Okay, so now let's look at what is next. Here we have a triangular prism. So again, the formulas are the same, pH plus 2b. Something we have to be really careful about here. This height right here for pH refers to the height of the prism, okay? And so if this is my base, this is the height of the prism. But now let's go back and see for the area of the base. Well, the base is a triangle, so the formula for the triangle is base times height divided by 2. So you got to understand that this height and this height are different, okay? So if we want to find, well, let's first find the perimeter of the base. So 10 plus 10 plus 12 is 32. And now we need the area of the base. So here we're talking about just this triangle. So the base of the triangle is 12 times the height of the triangle. Well, since this is isosceles, when we draw the height, it cuts the base in half, and so we have this triangle here that has a measurement of 6. The hypotenuse is 10. You can do Pythagorean theorem, or hopefully you recognize that this is a triple, but if not, I'll just call this side x. You could do 6 squared plus x squared is equal to 10 squared, and you will find that that side is 8. So this is going to be 12 times 8 divided by 2. And that will give you the area of that triangle. So that is 48. Okay, so the area of this triangle is 48. So we have 32 times 4 which is 128. And then we have 128 plus 2 times the area of that triangle, which was 48. So 48 times 2 plus 128 is 224. So this is 224, and they didn't give us units, but it's 224 units squared. Just know the units are always squared units when you're talking about surface area. Okay, so let's look at this one, and you should pause here and try and do this one yourself. Okay, so here our base is again a triangle. This is a triangular prism, and you can do Pythagorean theorem to get the hypotenuse is 10. So the perimeter of this base is 24. The height of the prism is 12. And so pH is 24 times 12, or 288. Now to find the area of the base, it's base times height divided by 2. And since it's a right triangle, it's just 8 times 6 divided by 2. And so our formula here, pH plus 2 times the area of the base is 288 plus 2 times 24 are 336 yards. Okay. Next, it looks like we have a trapezoidal prism. The base is a trapezoid. So again, we kind of got to be careful here. Here's our base in the shape of a trapezoid. So we got to know the formula for area of a trapezoid, and that is base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. So again, the height of the prism for our formula pH is right here. That's 10. This h has to do with finding the area of the trapezoid. And so you got to be careful, because that h is right here. Okay? So the perimeter of the base, 12, 22, 28. So this is 28 times 10, or 280. Now the area of the base is base 1, 12 plus 6, times the height of this figure here, 4 divided by 2. So that's 18 times 4 divided by 2, and that is 36. So this formula here, pH plus 2b, is 280 plus 2 times 36. And that is 352, and they don't give us a unit, so just units squared. Okay. Now this next one, I want you to try and do yourself. However, let's go ahead and look at it first. I don't think we'll finish the video, so we'll stop with this one here, and then I'll put a second one. Here is the trapezoidal base. So this is a trapezoidal prism. Okay, but what we do know is the height of the prism is 11. So this height is 11, but they don't give us this height here. But what we do know, let me change colors, is we have these 20 here, and we know that the bases have to be congruent. So that means that this is 20 and this is 20. So we can find the height because we would have two congruent triangles here. So 32 minus 8 is 24. So that means there would have to be a 12 here and a 12 here. And then this little part here is 8, and that adds up to the 32. So now we have all of our parts. And so the perimeter of the base, let me pause real quick so I can finish this. Okay, I just paused for some of the calculations. So the perimeter of the base is just adding up all the sides of the base here, and that's 80. So the lateral surface area, P times H, this H is the height of the prism, which is the 11. So 80 times 11 is 880. Now here is where we find the area of the base.